So myself, Ace Darling, and Balls Mahoney all rode down to Tennessee. And I was promised a dark match if I drove him down. Now, the messed up thing was that Candido and Balls Mahoney described me to Jim Cornette as Ernie Ladd-like.
Oh,
Okay, because, I think if any black guy who can move around a little bit, you're Ernie Ladd-like. Now, the problem, for full disclosure, Ernie Ladd was 6'7", former NFL football player, long and lanky. I am 6'3" and 320 pounds at the time. There is nothing Ernie Ladd about me other than we're both black.
yeah.
Okay, that's the only. But Cornette was sold on. He's an Ernie Ladd type guy. So Cornette goes, all right, I'll give him a dark match. When I got there, he's looking for Ernie Ladd to walk out. And here's Ernie from Sesame Street walking out. And here I come, and I walk out there, and he looks at me, and he goes, well, all right. And I don't think he had too high of expectations at that moment. But then, fortunately, 5 minutes after my match, he was like, okay, I think we might have a spot for you here.
Now, to be fair, you take a look at Balls Mahoney, taking him at his word.
Yeah.
There might have been a chance that he got exactly what he was expecting when Balls Mahoney describes Ernie Ladd.
And I'm thinking so because, I'll just say Balls needed glasses but never got any.
Yeah.
So we'll just leave it at that. I love the man to death, even in, he's gone for a long time, rest his soul. But, Ernie Ladd, I was not.
What was your first interaction with James E. Cornette?
It was that first night, coming in and introducing myself and giving a little background who I was. And at the time, full disclosure, I can say it now, statute of limitations have run out. I was only about 3 months in the business.
Yeah.
And Cornette, when I told Cornette that after the match, his eyes opened, he's like, what? And then his next words were, if anybody ever asks you again, you say 2 years. You say you've been in the business 2 years. If anyone asks again. And I was like, okay. So for the first 4 years, I told everybody I was in the business 2 years.
When you sit down with Cornette, as you go through the process of getting ingrained into Smoky Mountain Wrestling,
Yeah.
did you have any expectation of what lied ahead for you?
I had no clue whatsoever. I had no clue that he instantly wanted to put me in with the Gangstas. And it was actually, I found this out subsequently later on, probably right before New Jack's death. Apparently, while I was having my dark match, Cornette and Jack were watching through the door and talking about how the Gangstas needed a third member, a bump guy, because Jack was a talker, Mustafa was the heater. They needed the third dude. And Jack looked at Cornette, looked at me in the ring, goes, he'll do. He's okay. He's good. He'll do. So it was right from that conversation between Jack and Cornette that then after the match, Cornette came to me and said, I think we have a spot for you. So then sitting down, I had no clue what Tennessee wrestling was like other than watching it on TV.
Sure.
Had no clue what the atmosphere was going to be. And then you throw 3 young black men into this charged area of Tennessee, North Carolina, Kentucky, Georgia, and you drop us in there, and you got New Jack who will say anything.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
And yeah, I had absolutely no clue what to expect. And pretty much the first night I walked, I literally had my dark match as AC Connor, and then I was in the main event as the unnamed third member of the Gangstas, and then I became D'Lo Brown later on.
When you think about Smoky Mountain Wrestling, you think old school wrestling, you think, heels, baby faces. But Mr. JAO's got a good point in the chat, and I want to bring it up to you. New Jack and the Gangstas were the first attitude of the 90s, in my opinion. It was unbelievable stuff. I've never put that together until he just dropped that into the chat. But when you think about that, it's hard not to disagree with that.
You know, and as you just said, I've never put those two together. I have never put those. I'm this years old when I figured, heard
Yep.
that. Thank you for that comment. And you're right. I mean, that was kind of the precursor to what the entire attitude of wrestling around the country would become 2.5, 3 years later.
Yep.
And Jack was right on the edge of that with his promo style. There's part of me who thinks Jack would have fit right into attitude, would have fit right in seamlessly because he said the right things at the right time to make the right people mad, and that's all attitude was. So he would have 3 years later, he would have fit right in. So well put. That's a round of applause.
You think about the other talent that's in the locker room. You have Lance Storm, you have
Yeah.
Ito, you have Tammy Sitch, and you mentioned earlier the Rock and Roll Express. What's that like to sit under that learning tree?
It's where I tell everybody I got my college degree in wrestling. Because when you sit in that locker room, you look and there's the dirty white boy with 20 years of experience, the Rock and Roll Express with combined, 40 years of experience, Tracy Smothers, Bullet Bob Armstrong, the entire Armstrong clan is in there. And then you got Cornette who's tweaking your promos. So, I mean, it was in many ways, Smoky Mountain was the first developmental territory of the WWE. Because if you think of the guys who came through Smoky Mountain that eventually made it to Vince McMahon's TV,
Fun.
I can name off 10 right now: Jericho, Lance Storm, Kane, Al Snow, myself, Balls Mahoney. It goes on and on and on and on. And I hadn't even got to the real big names of the guys who were on top there. So if you can't learn in that locker room, that's a you problem. Because you're given every opportunity. You can sit next to guys who've been calling matches 300 nights a year for 10, 12, 15 years. You can sit there, listen to them call it, and then go run out and get a great seat and watch it play out, and then come back and have the aftermath of how they're talking afterwards. So you get all three phases of match building and psychology, and invaluable what that did for me and for my career. Invaluable what it did for the guys and the girls who went through Smoky Mountain onto bigger and better things. I mean, it was just the whole locker room was a learning tree. And it was one of the great honors of my career to be there, particularly at such a young age. So I had nothing but I could just a sponge there to take it all in.